Hello everyone and welcome back to the catch-up videos of Adventures in the Hills Part 2. I will leave a link in the description to the first one if you have not seen it yet. And anyway, yes, so this is the second part to my catch-up series. There will be 3 videos, which I know they seem long, but in the long run, it's a lot shorter than what you would have to sit through if you actually sat through our whole series. So this is much a shorter way of watching it as you possibly can get. Now, we left off in Season 3 of Dr. Death. We met some new characters, mainly a really important one. So Season 4, the YouTube series doesn't begin, but the actual story begins. Justin, Donnie, Kenny, and Zach, and a girl named Amber, who we have never seen before, and Lexus. They're all here trying to stop Rodaro. He is super powerful. He is trying to destroy the entire world as we know it. Unfortunately, Kenny dies, and so does Zach. And then, not only that, but Justin is seemingly dead. Donnie runs away with Lexus, and then Amber's never really heard from again. Donnie makes a resistance, and he tries to, do all that. But in the end, they all fail. And in the end, all that's left is Donnie and his grandson, Alex. Rodaro hunts them down for years. Not for years, for like a year. And he ends up finding Donnie. But Donnie had made something for Alex. He made a one-way trip, a time machine. Donnie dies, but he gives the device to Alex. Alex goes back in time to getting smacked by Justin and Donnie, their younger selves. This Justin and Donnie are the ones who just a couple months earlier had defeated Dr. Death. Alex warns them about Rodaro and how he's coming, and how the future is dependent on them succeeding on beating him. Because before they couldn't. Now, because Alex went back in time, some things are altered. Lexus and Amber are not a part of their lives right now. They aren't with them. And yes, you should know that in the original timeline, Lexus did have sex with Donnie, which then created their daughter Gwen, which in turn created Alex, who I play. But anyway, so because of me coming back to the past, things have changed. Amber doesn't exist yet, or at least we haven't heard about her yet. And Lexus, well, she hasn't been seen since Season 1. But basically, Alex comes back to the past, and he tells everyone that they need to be ready, because Rodaro will be coming for them. And so, Rodaro does, and he sends a bunch of bad guys after them, and they deal with a lot of ghosts, and some aliens, surprisingly. And they have to deal with all that. This season gets a lot more story-based, although it's still not perfect, because we're only in 6th grade when we started filming it, and that's when I first get introduced. But yes. So, they go through all that. They find out about this thing called the Labyrinth of Leaves, and how it leads to Rodaro's dimension. And they try to use that to their advantage, although it still kind of backfires. But, yeah. Or Rodaro's section of hell, but he just likes to call it his dimension, even though it's just a section of hell that he has control over, because he apparently is powerful enough to do that. Now, he is way more insane than anything that they've ever faced. Like, Dr. Death doesn't even compare to this guy. Like, because this guy's like a demon. This guy is crazy strong, and it's insane. And there's just not much that they initially, like I said in the original timeline, they all died, pretty much. Except for a few people. But Alex coming back in time changed things. And then we get to the movie, and they finally manage, although very, very hard, they fight with all their might, and they finally defeat Radara. Or so it would seem. But as of right now, he's dead. And they all live happily ever after. For now. Dun, 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 dun. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Season 4 of Adventures in the Hills. As you can see, it got a lot more interesting. It was everything I talked about in the very beginning. That is in a book I made. That is not actually in the YouTube show. But as for the story-wise, there was an original timeline where everyone died, and now there's a new timeline because I went back to the past. Kind of like Dragon Ball Z. So, like, there's still a twisted future out there where they failed to stop Radaro, but for the most part, but that world stays destroyed. Whereas when I came back to the past, I made a second timeline, which is the timeline that the show continues on from then on forward. But yes, so yeah, that's pretty much it, guys, for Season 4. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to that one. Definitely a lot more interesting than the first video was, huh? How do you feel about that? Oh, yeah. If you want more detail in the book, I might be making an audiobook version of it that I'll upload to YouTube. It'll take forever to upload, but it might be cool for you guys. But anyway, I will see you once we get to Season 5. And we get to see Amar. Alright. Season 5, the Arena Saga. Alright. So, going back to the original timeline where Alex came from. Justin didn't actually die. He just got his face bashed in by Radaro's scythe. He eventually wakes up and he sees the world in ruin, destroyed, buildings on fire. Minions, because Radaro managed to let forth numerous of demons onto the streets. He deals with that for months, but he eventually meets his wife, and then they have a child. He then gets tormented by Radaro and some being that he made called a Scare. But he gets captured. Or first, he gets captured by Radaro. His mind manipulated, changed. He becomes a monster, an antagonist. He ends up killing his wife and child. Then he gets sent back by Radaro from the original timeline to go kill the rest of the 8th crew by having Justin, or as he was newly called, Amar, into his past self. So Justin possesses Justin, or Amar possesses Justin in our timeline. And so Justin has to deal with that, with constantly changing and trying to keep his mind intact while constantly being switched into Amar. Amar first shows himself in front of Donnie and tells him, alright, guess what? You are going to be in part of my arena. Basically, what Amar did while Justin wasn't conscious was he went to another planet. He annihilated everyone that lived on that planet and made it his arena. And then he teleported all of the 8th crew over there. They've had to fight through many arenas to get to Amar. And they fight many bad guys. One particular bad guy, Scar, who would be a returning character. He fought Donnie and Alex, but he couldn't win. And also, for some stupid reason, I don't know why we did it, but Alex touched some stupid friggin' stick, and then he has a seizure for no apparent reason. It probably was one of Amar's weapons, but he expected it to kill Alex, but unfortunately for Amar, he survives. But, moving on, there was a bunch of trials they had to get to, a bunch of arenas they had to get through in order to get to Amar. And they finally got to Amar. But for a slight time, Amar remembered who he used to be. He remembered that he was Justin. But then Rodaro came back from our timeline wanting to help. But then Amar was trying to help Alex, and so that was a little confusing. They had a fight, but in the end, Amar took control of Justin again. Or, Justin, that is Amar, became evil again. And he worked with Rodaro to destroy everyone. And everyone else seemed to be dead. Everyone else was dead. Alex was alone to stop it. And he fought really hard, and he managed to be able to just barely beat them. Alex used the easy button to make everything right again, to bring everyone back that they killed. And then Justin was okay in the end, and Amar was defeated. And yeah, pretty crazy, right? I know. And then that would set things up for what the next season would be. But that's Season 6 Saga 1, and we're not getting into that yet. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, that was Season 5. See how Season 4 and 5 are instantly better than the first 3 seasons. But yes, that was Season 5. Still had many problems, but it was getting better as time went on. And then soon, we're going to move on to Season 6 Saga 1, not Saga 2. That will be in the last video of mine. But yes, Season 6 Saga 2. And that is where things get cool. Well, no, it's already cool, but it gets cooler. You know what I mean? More story-driven, plus some really cool ideas that I think were pretty cool. And some characters get more spotlight, like they should. But yes, anyway, this is where things are about to get super duper interesting. So I hope you guys are ready. I hope you're sticking around, even though I know this video is going to be long. Please stick with me and get ready for Season 6, Saga 1 of Adventures in the Hills, the Timeline Saga. Hope you guys are ready, and let's get right into the frickin' news. Adventures in the Hills, the Timeline Saga. The first saga of a two-part type of thing in the Season 6 series. So, it begins with Justin talking about how they have joined Adrenaline Corps, a corporation, and how they're going to help the government. Kenny disbands from the group. He goes to work for people known as Regiment Legion. So people are splitting up, and they're having a business meeting in the very beginning, and Alex seems a little pissed off more than usual. This guy named Henry, he sees Alex's sword that he used to travel to the past. And he wants to, just see it. Alex doesn't want him to, though. But he touches it. And in bringing it forth, he creates a paradox. Or at least, that's what someone wants them to think. Anyway, that creates a ripple throughout time. And it ends up making the third timeline the third Earth connected to the second one. Basically, in this Earth, or timeline if you want to call it that, or universe, Amar managed to kill everyone. Amar is now basically Justin again with his memories intact, and he feels horrible about what he's done to his friends. He constantly dreams about them and the horrors that he's done. But he is accompanied by Bobinson from that timeline, Jose, some crazy drunk, and Dr. Death, who in this timeline is still alive. So they're doing their own thing in that timeline. Donnie has mysteriously got time powers. Alex can use this thing called Rodaro power. Justin has an exoskeleton suit. And, well, Kenny's just plain strong. He doesn't need any boosts. And then Zach, also just super cool dude. But during their meeting, they meet a guy named Mascare. And Justin tries to fight him off, but he doesn't succeed. And so basically, that's where most of the plot reveals around, is going between the two different timelines. That one, I actually suggest you watch. It would take some time, but it's actually pretty interesting. But, yeah. So they end up working together through communication from both the timelines, or universes. I think universes is a better term for it. And, eventually, though, later on in the story, Mar and all of them tried to defeat Ascari, but they fail. They all die. Except for Mar. He gets away and manages to come back to our timeline. And Justin tried to take out Ascari on his own, but he doesn't. He fails and he goes into coma. But Amar is there to help Bobinson. Is there to help Kenny and Alex. So they all fight. And they fight and they fight and they fight. And they barely manage to defeat Ascari. But he is defeated. And the world is saved. For now. At least it seems like everything is alright. Alex also is getting sick a lot. It might have been Ascari's power just messing with him. Who knows? But yeah. That's where Season 6 Saga 1 ends. So yeah. It's all pretty crazy, although Season 6 is Saga 1 is definitely not that long. You probably could get it done. Not going to force you to watch it, though. You got this here. But yeah, that's basically what happens. And yeah, I do think Season 6 is a good place to start off if you want to start off anywhere. I know you have these videos to catch up if you just want to watch these. I'm just saying if you do end up ever checking out Magneto, they do have that enough to where you're like, okay, I can continue off from here and kind of get it. So, you know what I mean? Yeah, anyway. So, that's it for Part 2. Part 3 will only consist of Saga 2 of Season 6, and then non-spoilery stuff for Season 7, and then you'll be pretty much all caught up. Although I do suggest on your free time, check out Season 6 of Adventure in the Hills, because that one's okay enough to watch, if you feel so inclined. But anyway, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with us a lot, and I'll see you guys next time.